Back in the 1970s, it was reported that the average person saw between 500 and 1,600 advertisements per day from billboards, newspapers, TV promotions. Get this, today the average person encounters as many as 10,000 advertisements every single day. And what are those 10,000 ads telling you each and every day? You know what they're telling you. They're all telling you that if you had a little bit more, you'd be happier. If you had this thing that you currently don't have, you'll find way more satisfaction in life. If you had a bigger house, a nicer car, more fashionable clothes, you'd be happy. Way happier than you are now. You know this. The goal of marketing is to make you discontent. But what if I were to tell you that there's a way for you to find contentment that doesn't cost you a single dime? Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for what is the fourth session of a 5-session series called What's Enough? It's a series we put together to help you talk about the one thing that brings families, couples, individuals more anxiety, uncertainty, fear, and stress than anything else in America, and that's your finances. Well, these days, I've noticed in the news that there are more and more wildfires that make the news. Have you noticed this? And with the coverage of all these disasters, there are thousands of people that have to be evacuated, forced to leave their home and all their possessions as fires threaten to destroy their homes. And as I watch it, it strikes me that it's in those moments that people are forced to think about their relationship to their stuff, to their possessions. What would you save? I mean, imagine a fire is headed toward your home and you have 10 minutes to grab everything that you can and flee. My question to you is, what would you take with you? In those sorts of moments, I'm reminded of what Jesus said. In Luke chapter 12, he said, "One's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Now, here's what's hard. That it's easier to say than to believe in our hearts, isn't it? I mean, if you and I are really honest, the world is constantly telling us that our life, it does consist of what we own, what we accumulate, what we possess. While Jesus is telling us that our lives consist of more than money or our stuff. If we're honest, despite the fact that we say we believe Jesus' words, we still find ourselves devoting so much time, our talent, our resources on the accumulation of more. We say that our lives do not consist in the abundance of what we have, our stuff, but we live as if they do. Constantly restless, discontent. We want more. So how do we discover contentment? Paul was a great example of this. In Philippians 4, he writes these words, "I have learned to be content with whatever I have. I know what it is to have little, and I know what it is to have plenty. In any and all circumstances, I have learned the secret of being well-fed and of going hungry, of having plenty, and of being in need." Paul wrote these words. Guess where he was? He was sitting in prison in a cell in Rome, awaiting news of whether or not he would be executed. Like Paul, we too can learn to be content, whatever the circumstance we find ourselves in. Let me give you just 4 keys to doing this. The first key goes like this. Ask yourself, how long will this make me happy? That thing you just have to buy. What if you were to pause and ask, how long will this make me happy? So often we buy something thinking it will make us happy, only to find that the happiness lasts about as long as it takes to open the box. Or how about this? Remember that it could be worse. What do I mean? Whenever we find ourselves discontented with something, what if you were to remember it could be worse? As you look at your house and the upgrades you want to make, as you go to work and face all kinds of challenges, when you're frustrated and disappointed at home, remember, it could be worse. For example, as you look at your house and the upgrades you want to make, as you go to work and you face challenges, when you're frustrated and disappointed with things at home, remember, it could be worse. I have a hunch, if you do, you'll start to realize that most of our problems, let's be honest, they're first world problems. Or how about this, a third idea? Develop a grateful heart. Gratitude is essential to contentment. Paul wrote, "Give thanks in all circumstances." Contentment arrives when we spend more time giving thanks for what we have than thinking about what's missing or what's wrong in our lives. In every situation of our lives, we have a choice. We can either complain or we can be grateful. I invite you to choose gratitude. And finally, number 4, ask yourself, where does my soul find true satisfaction? The world answers this question by telling us that we find satisfaction in luxury and comfort and wealth and the accumulation of more stuff. But our faith and our hearts tell us there's something more. Contrary to what the world would have us believe, the longings of our soul cannot be satisfied at the shopping mall or on Amazon.com. Friends, Paul reminded us that we can learn to be content in whatever the circumstances. So let's talk about it. A couple of questions for you today. What effect does your level of contentment from day to day have on your outlook and your attitude? And secondly, according to Hebrews chapter 13, verses 5 and 6, what is both our motivation and empowerment for being content with what we have?